Like many of you, I've been using Outlook for almost my entire professional life. I've used it for email, calendaring, and contacts. I've actually made teaching people how to use Outlook effectively into my main business activity, and I've trained people on Gmail as well. But I have to admit, I'm getting a bit burned out on the Microsoft and Google ecosystems. I keep wondering, isn't there anything else? So, when a client of mine asked me recently to recommend an inexpensive email system, I decided to experiment with a mail system called Zoho Mail. I discovered quickly that it is an excellent system. And so that's the topic of this video, using Zoho Mail for those of you who may be ready to branch away from Outlook and Gmail. Hi, this is Michael Lindenberger, and I'm the author of 8 books on email and task management. Watch this video to learn more about the powerful email system called Zoho Mail. Why consider Zoho Mail? One main reason is that you can get up to 5 free email addresses using your own dedicated domain like @michaellindenberger.com or whatever your domain is. There's no charge at all for this free professional level email system, and there are no ads. And if you need more than 5 email addresses, you can get accounts for as low as $1 a month per user, so Zoho Mail can be a very economical choice. And now that I've used it for a while, I can say that Zoho Mail is just as good as Outlook Online and Gmail, and in many ways it's much better. Now, Zoho Mail does not have all the behind-the-scenes large corporate controls that Exchange offers. It has most of them, but not all. And the desktop version of Zoho is not as feature-rich as Windows Desktop Outlook, which is still my favorite email client. So, for example, Zoho's Tasks system is not adequate for MYN or the one-minute to-do list systems that I teach my users on how to get control of their tasks. But I'd say that for 95% of you who just need a good email system, Zoho Online will meet all your company's email server needs and at a much better price than paid Outlook or Gmail accounts. So, if you need a very good and economical system, or just want to try something different from Microsoft and Google, you definitely should look at Zoho.
Let's walk through some of the features of Zoho Mail. First of all, the way to open a free account is to go to mail.zoho.com, as I show here, and then you'll see this screen. Use this choice if you want mail with your domain on it. That's how you sign up for that. So if you want a domain like @michaellindenberg.com, like I have, or something like that, then you're going to want to use this business email choice here. And by the way, you can have up to 5 domain named email addresses on a free account using this choice. There are no ads, so it's really a good deal. And then if you just want one account and you don't care what the domain is, then choose this one, personal email, and then that'll give you an @zohomail.com address. If you click that, you'll see that there's a form they're going to want you to fill out. So do that if you want to do that. But think about the business one and then click sign up for free if you want one with your own domain. They can arrange the domain for you, or you can provide it yourself. Now, Zoho offers both desktop and online applications. Now, their online mail interface really is identical to their desktop interface, so I just use the online one. It works just as well, easy to do, and that's what I'm going to show in this video. It looks like this. We'll get into it in a moment, but both the online version and the desktop version looks just like this. And then Zoho also has some pretty good smartphone apps. I'd say they are just as good as the Outlook or Gmail smartphone apps that you can get from Outlook and Gmail. I've used it a bunch and it worked great. But today we're just looking at Zoho Webmail. And then finally, today I am going to focus mostly on standard email functions, which means writing emails, sending emails, receiving and reading emails. But that said, Zoho Mail also has a whole set of features that go well beyond standard email functions. For example, they have a set of built-in Slack-like features called Streams, which uses chat more than email or integrated into email. So take a look at that if you want to. They also have other social media type features built in. If you want to take a look at that, this video that's shown right on the screen here, if you go to this website and play this video, we'll show you an overview of those extra features, and I leave that up to you to watch later. But for now, we're just going to look at the standard email features in this video and see how they compare to Outlook Online and Gmail. So let me open my own account here. It's a practice account that I set up in Zoho. I want to start by saying that I quickly became very impressed with the design of Zoho after using it for about a month. For lack of a better word, I'd call it sophisticated. It's also simple, but a design team with a lot of experience put some very good thought into designing this interface to be powerful and easy to pick up quickly too at the same time. So I'm pretty impressed with this. At this point, I'd actually say that I like Zoho's design better than Outlook Online. The reason is Zoho is aesthetically more pleasing, and it does have a few more important features that Outlook doesn't expose in its surface level of Outlook Online. Also, compared to Gmail, I like Zoho Mail much better, and that might just be me, but Gmail has somewhat of a rather stoic look for my taste. So I like the colors, I like the arrangement, I like the design of Zoho better. At high level, the Zoho interface is similar to Outlook Online and Gmail, and really similar to most other email systems out these days. So you've got folders on the left, email in the middle, and a reading pane on the right, and that's how a lot of email systems look right now. And similar to Outlook, the major standard modules are also shown on the left here: calendar, tasks, notes, contacts, and then something a little less common called bookmarks, which is just a simple web link storage feature. Also, like Outlook and Gmail, there is a waffle icon in a top corner to get to the rest of the major products in their ecosystem. And Zoho does have a lot of products in its ecosystem, so someday you might want to research those. You won't need that most of the time because these icons on the left will get you to most of the things you're going to want to use when using Zoho Mail. So far, you'll see that Zoho is pretty similar to Outlook and Gmail in the high-level navigation capabilities. But to me, the test of a good email system is usability. And that's where I think Zoho Mail really shines compared to Outlook Online and Gmail. So the place I want to start with that is the tabs interface that is built into Zoho. I think that's really one of its main advantages. So let me talk about tabs and why I like the way Zoho does this. One of my pet peeves about email systems is their ability to organize open work. You see, I have a habit of keeping multiple email activities going at once. I'll start to read one message, and then halfway through, I'll jump to another message. Then I'll start to compose a message or two, and then leave them and come back to something else. So the ability of an email system to juggle and retain several open activities and allow me to get back to them easily is important to me. And that's where a lot of web-based email systems fall short, and even desktop ones. For example, I don't know how many times I've started to write an important email, then gotten distracted, and then completely lost track of the fact that I was writing it. And then days later, I happen to find it in my drafts folder. And then I think to myself, oh crap, I never sent that email, did I? And unless I remember to check my drafts folder periodically, I may never know that I do have a couple outstanding emails that I was in the middle of writing and that I never finalized and finally sent. Zoho's solution for this and for retaining other open emails is their tabs interface. I really like the tabs interface in Zoho, and here's how it works. Now, when you start a new email, here, let me close these tabs right here that I've got open so that I can start fresh. So when you start a new email, so let's say I'm going to compose a new email, and then I put a subject line in here. So let's say I start writing this, but I want to go look at my email. So notice that the new email that I was writing got created as a tab over here to the right. And notice that it's always here, whether I navigate back to mail or not. In fact, it stands out rather clearly here. This pencil icon will tell you that there's an email that's being edited right now. And so it's really easy to find this later if you want to come back to it later. Also, if I'm reading an email, let's say I'm reading this one, if I want to set it aside so I can read some other emails and come back to this, all I have to do is right-click it and click on Open in a tab, or you can use the T shortcut key, and it opens in its own tab over here. And then if I go back to the mail inbox, I can start reading some more things here. And later on, I can see, oh yeah, I had this email open that I want to come back to. And notice these little pop-up menus here that tell you what's in each of the tabs. So you can have quite a few tabs lined up here with open documents that you're writing or emails that you're reading. And as I said, I really do like this tab interface. It does work quite well. Now, admittedly, Outlook Online and Gmail have rough versions of tabs for certain of the functions that I just talked about. but I don't find them anywhere as good as this tab's design or anywhere as intuitive. This one is much better. I also really like Zoho's approach to reading pane. Now, the reading pane, of course, is this thing over here on the right that shows you an email and perhaps the history of the email that's going on here. It is the equivalent of opening a separate email window, but in a pane off to the right. Now, the thing I like about Zoho is how easy it is to open and close the reading pane. All you have to do is click on the email that you're reading here in the list, and it closes the reading pane. And then you click on it again, and it opens the reading pane. Now, why is that important? Well, I like to close the reading pane oftentimes when I'm scanning through a lot of mail, because I can very quickly see who it's from, what the title is, a good abbreviation of what's in the message off here to the right. That often is enough information for me to make decisions about email without even opening it. And so it's nice to be able to scan down a list, and then if I see something I need to study more, I'll just click on it and open the reading pane and read some more. Now, in contrast, Outlook, if you own an Outlook Online, the reading pane is kind of permanent here. If you open it, there's really no easy way to close it. The only way to close it is to go into Settings and then come down here to Reading Pane and then click Hide and then Close Settings. And that's kind of a lot of steps to go through if you want to do what I do, which is I'm constantly going through and opening and closing the reading pane to look at certain emails. By the way, if you're using Outlook Desktop, there is a way to custom create a certain button that will open and close the reading pane quickly in Desktop, and I've written about that in some of my books and articles. But again, you can't do that in Outlook Online. Now, all three of these email systems, Zoho, Outlook, and Gmail, have ways to change the compactness of this list. And what I mean by that, let's look at Gmail. If I go in here and I say I want the list to be very compact, notice that when I do that, it tightens up the vertical space in these items here. Comfortable, spreads them out vertically a lot. Same thing's available in Outlook. Again, you have to go into Settings, and then once in Settings, you can scroll down and click on either Full, which shows you a little more space in between each of the lines. Compact is a less space in between each of the lines, and so on. But again, you do have to go into Settings. And by the way, if you've got the reading pane on, there is no choice for single line layout in Outlook. All of them have at least 2 lines of information shown for each email over here in the list view. And I do like single line layout a lot, so I'm happy that if you go into Zoho and you want to change the compactness, first of all, you don't have to go into Settings. It's a button right here in the main window. You just click on it, and you can change from classic view, which is multiple lines per email item, to compact, which is 1 single line to email per email item. And by the way, if you open the reading pane when in single line mode, it stays in single line mode, which is something that I like. So it is just easier to get to these controls in Zoho, and they are, in my opinion, a little bit more usable. Continuing with views, like Outlook and like Gmail, you can turn on and off conversation view in Zoho. But again, they've made it a lot easier. In Outlook Online and in Gmail, you have to go into the settings menus to activate conversation view. But here in Zoho, it's actually just a button sitting at the top of the list. So here it is right here. If I click on this, you can turn on conversation view, which I'll do. And then you get an item here that shows how many items are in the conversation. You click on the number, and it shows you all the items in the conversation. And then you can turn around, turn that right back off by clicking this button and then turning it off. Now, I like to turn off conversation view a lot because it shows a better chronological history of how the email came in, which is sometimes useful for me to see. So I'm constantly switching back and forth between conversation view and non-conversation view, and I like that you can do that. And there's also another interesting feature built into Zoho. See this little icon here? So we've got conversation view turned off, but this icon tells you 2 things. First, that this is part of a conversation. That's what this icon says. The other thing that it does is it enables you to see the conversation in the email itself. Let me show you this one here. It's a little clearer. If I click on this, look what happens. It shows you that there's all these different email conversations. They're represented by each one of these icons. And you can jump to and fro in that conversation without actually going into conversation view. So it's a nice shortcut to see what's going on in a conversation without switching. or you can just read the email, the latest email in the conversation by clicking on that. So there's a lot of versatility here in the Zoho interface for how you view your email, and I think it leads to quicker reading of email, quicker decision making on email, which is always important. And then, of course, with viewing any email, you sometimes want to open up the email in its own separate window. Now, in Outlook, the way you do that is you just double-click on an email, and it opens the window that displays the email. I don't like opening windows in web software. It's easy to lose track of those windows. They sometimes are slow to open and so on. So I tend to avoid the Windows view of mail. I tend to use the reading pane more when I'm in a web software environment. But I will say Zoho also has the capability to open emails in separate windows. What you do is you right-click on one, and then you just say open a new window, and it will then open the complete email message in its own window. Let's talk a little bit about filing mail. I'll get into folders in a minute, but the most common way I file mail is to archive it. And just like Outlook Online and just like Gmail, Zoho has a good archiving feature. The way you use it is you click on an email that you want to archive, and then you just click the archive button right here, and it disappears out of the inbox and it becomes archived. If you want to see archived mail, there's a couple of different ways to do that. You can go down to the bottom here where it says all archived and click on it, and there's all your archived mail. By the way, I kind of like the fact that Zoho grays the background when you're in the archive folder so you don't forget that you are in the archive folder, as opposed to the inbox, which has a non-gray background on it. That's a useful reminder. So that's one way to view archive. The other way to view archive mail is to click on this button called View Archived, which becomes available when the reading pane is turned off, and that'll take you also to the list of archived mail. Okay, so I use archive mail a lot. It's a really good feature. I think people should be using archive mail more than using folders. But if you want to use folders, then there are, of course, folder capabilities built into Zoho. They're over on the left like they are in any other email system. So here's the folder section right here. There's some standards folders that come with it, inbox, drafts. Templates is unusual. It's a template feature that's similar to what Outlook has and Gmail has, except that it promotes it right into your folder list. It makes it a lot more usable. Sent items, spam, trash, etc. And then, of course, you can create your own folders by clicking on this plus sign right here. These two folders down here, newsletters and notification, those are similar to the automatic filing that both Outlook does and Gmail does, where it sorts out lower priority mail into their own folders for you. If you don't like that, you can turn it off. The way to turn it off is to go to Settings, and here's the Settings button over here in the upper right. Then you go down here to Filters, click on that, and here's that control that activates newsletter and notification. There's called Smart Filters, and you just click this button to turn them off. And by the way, here's another thing that I like about Zoho and its tabbed interface. When you open a settings window, it opens it as a tab in the tab bar up at the top here, which means if you're not quite done with this particular setting, you can go back to Mail and read Mail and do all the things that you do with Mail. And then you can come back to the same place you were in the settings window, no matter how deep down you were, and it's sitting right there ready for you to work on it. So again, another feature of the tab interface, which I like a lot compared to Outlook, which once you open a settings window and go down to anything more than the surface level settings, kind of covers your screen until you're ready to be done with it, and then you have to close it completely. Same thing with Gmail. Once you get very far into its settings window, it covers all of your mail as well, and the only way to see your mail is to completely exit out of settings. So another advantage of Zoho. Let's go back to the Mail tab. Let me scroll down here to the Views section. Views are basically different ways of looking at your inbox or whatever folder you're in. You can look at flagged mail only. You can, as I already showed you, the all archive mail. You can look at unread mail only if you want. And here's one that's kind of interesting, all messages. What this does is it shows you all of your mail from all of any folders that you've already created, or the automatic folders like newsletter, notification. Shows you them all in one list, but it does not show you the archived mail. So that's a good way of consolidating mail to search for something visually. And then finally, I want to talk about tags. Tags are the equivalent to categories in Outlook and labels in Gmail. Okay? So they're the same thing. They're your way of putting some sort of a label on certain emails so that you don't have to file them in folders if you don't want to. You can archive them away and then look at them collected by label. So in this case, here's a newsletter tag. Here's a ticket tag. These are emails that have been tagged with different tags that are here. And then, of course, if you click on the tag name in the list here, it shows you all that mail that has those tags on it, whether they're in the inbox or a folder or archived. For example, this one right here has been archived, but it also shows you it in this collection if you click on the tickets label. So that's similar to how categories works in Outlook and labels works in Gmail. So you've got all of that capability here. Pretty easy to use if you're in the inbox and you select an email and you want to put a tag on it. A couple different ways to do it, but one way is to click on this tag icon right here. See that? That looks like a label tag. Click on that, and you can choose one of the pre-existing tags. If you do, it'll be labeled with it. So there, just turn green, and it has the check marks on the tickets one. Or you can actually create a new tag by typing right here and giving it a color and then clicking create. I'm not going to do this here, but that's how you would create a new one. So pretty simple. As you may know, if you've read any of my books or read my articles about email, I'm a big proponent of using categories or labels, whether you're using Outlook or Gmail, and this is just as good as that. And I recommend that if you do start using Zoho, that you use tags aggressively instead of creating tons and tons of separate folders. And that's it. That's all I wanted to show you about Zoho. There's a ton of power here, a lot of good exposed features that are easy to get at. The Zoho ecosystem is really quite impressive once you get into Zoho Mail and then start to explore some of the other things that Zoho offers. You'll be amazed at how many great products they have. I've been playing around a little bit with their CRM system for a client of mine, and it is actually quite excellent as a CRM system. They've got a ton of other products to look at. So if you're getting tired of the Microsoft ecosystem or getting tired of the Google ecosystem and you want to branch out and look at some other choices, almost all of the choices that you'll find in Zoho are as good or better than the Microsoft or Google choices, and they're usually about a third the price. So this is quite a good way to go if you want something different or if you're looking for budget solutions and need to branch out from the standard Microsoft and Google choices.